Hey, what's up everyone? Back for week number 3. We're looking at the Sunday main slate in this video. So let's get right into it. This is going to be a first look for Sunday. Then we'll have another look out on Friday as we did the last couple weeks. So let's get right into it. You can drop a like and subscribe down below. I appreciate that. Let's try to get 200 likes on the video if we can. You can follow me on Twitter at the DFS Process, and you can check out the website dfsprocess.net if you want to join us. So let's get into it. We have the first thing that stuck out to me on this slate was the wide receivers being so cheap. No wide receiver above 8,000. Your highest price receiver is Hopkins. You have Julio Jones is super cheap. I feel like I'm gonna try to pay up for at least a couple receivers just because they're very cheap. But starting off at quarterback here, you have Mahomes is your highest price. It's gonna be a great matchup watching this game. Mahomes versus Lamar Jackson. Both quarterbacks have been absolutely unbelievable to start. Should be a shootout, and I don't have a problem going up to either one. But if you don't know, I usually like to spend down at quarterback a little bit. Just like last week with Josh Allen, there's always a couple of quarterbacks that are cheap that are going to return a really solid score on their price tag and allows you to pay up for like the receivers I want to pay up for and some other spots like defense or tight end or running back. The quarterbacks that I like here are a little cheaper. I like Matt Stafford a bunch here at 5,500. A couple reasons why I love Stafford. The first is that he's facing the Eagles, who have been absolutely shredded through the air. They got lit up by Case Keenum in week 1, and then Matt Ryan threw for a bunch of yards. He also had some just dumb passes that got picked off, but he was able to carve up that secondary when he was on the field. Stafford has a great arm. The Eagles have been very good against the run, so it's going to be a spot where the Lions are going to have to go with a very pass-heavy approach. And the Lions, in general, they don't run the ball that much. So I think it's a good spot for Stafford to see potentially 40 to 45 throws. That's going to open up a lot higher ceiling for him. And he has some more weapons this year with Amendola. He has a good tight end in Hutchinson. So I think it's a pretty good spot here at a 5,500 price. If you don't like him, then he could probably take a chance on Winston. I think Winston's going to be popular, but just find it very difficult to trust him, just given how he's looked the first couple weeks. Although I think him and Stafford are similarly projected, but I think Stafford is a little safer. And then if you want to go super punt, then you probably could go with like maybe Kirk Cousins, although he's not looked very good. But I'm just going to go with Matt Stafford for all the reasons that I've already stated. Just love the matchup against the Eagles secondary. He's cheap, and he's looked pretty good to start off the year. At running back, you have Barkley is your most expensive. Barkley has been fine. He hasn't been anything special. He only has 1 touchdown through 2 games, and I don't know what's happening, but he's not getting as many catches as he did last year. The Giants' offense is just very, very anemic. It's going to be tough for them to score many touchdowns throughout the year, and that's going to cap Barkley's upside. So I don't think we're going to see as much upside for Barkley until they get some of the receivers back, like Golden Tate. And then Elliott starting to play more snaps. Last week he played, I think, 70% of the snaps or 75%. The only concern is that this game gets a blowout because the Dolphins have gotten blown out in both games by far, and the Cowboys are a very good team playing at home. I think this game is going to get blown out very quickly, at least in the second half. And then you got McCaffrey. I think it's going to be the most popular play at 87. I don't mind him. But like I said, I think wide receiver is a way that I want to pay up for just because they're so cheap. I'm going to go a little value at running back. That's what I like as of now. I'm going to start it off with Marlon Mack here at 58. I like the price tag on him a lot. He has big-time upside. The Colts do like to run the ball. He has 25 carries his first week, 20 carries, even though he struggled. It's not a surprise that he's going to struggle against the Titans. But now he's back at home in Indianapolis, first home game. He has a ton of upside just because he's great with getting yards after contact, very fast, and they don't really have another guy that gets a lot of carries. Himes gets some work in passing situations, but it's really Marlon Mack that's getting all the work. And at 5,800 against the Falcons, who they got absolutely destroyed in week 1 by the Vikings, just ran it down their throats. the Eagles are never a run-heavy offense. Under Doug Peterson, they never run the ball very much. So I'm not that concerned with that result. But I think Mac, given the way the Colts play, is in for at least a solid week. And if he can get into the end zone, then I think he has some monster upside. Another running back that I like that's pretty cheap here, I think, you could go with like a Chris Carson, although he fumbled last week again. Last season was also some concern with his fumbling. He fumbled, and then Rashard Penny had a very good game, so they could go with the hot hand there. So it's not as a safe of a matchup as you would expect. Josh Jacobs here is a little injured, but he still played pretty well before he got hurt. I didn't even know that he was hurt. But we'll see if he's limited in practice or if he doesn't end up playing. That's going to be tough. But I think you can go with like Carson here at 59 if you want. I was thinking about playing Josh Jacobs, but if he's banged up, then that's going to be kind of tough to go with. So in that case, I'll pay up a little bit here and go with like Austin Eckler at 7,200. Just very, very safe. You're getting great passing down. You get great receiving upside with him. You get great carry upside. He fumbled near the goal line last week, or he probably could have had another touchdown. But the Chargers, they should bounce back and put up some more points. Only scored 10 points against the Lions. The Texans' defense is not terrible, but it's not great. The Chargers at home, they have a pretty good offense. I think Eckler at 7,200 still has that massive upside, so I'll go with Eckler. And at receiver, like I said, there are a couple of cheap receivers that I am dying to get on my team. Just talk about the ones that stick out. With the injuries to Drew Brees and to Ben Roethlisberger, you can easily cross out two receivers here. I'm not going to have interest in Michael Thomas at 74, catching passes from Teddy Bridgewater. I'm not going to have interest in Juju as well at 69. But I like DeAndre Hopkins a bunch at 78 against the Chargers. We just saw what Kenny Golladay did against that defense. And even though Casey Hayward is a solid defender, I think, as you see here, both T.Y. Hilton and Kenny Golladay have destroyed that team as number one receivers. Hopkins at a cheap 7,800. I like him a bunch. And then I like Julio Jones a lot here at 7,300. He is really cheap. It's very rare that you get Jones at that price tag. Monster upside, as we saw last week against the Eagles. Even though he was getting double covered, he still managed to put up 2 scores and put up over 100 yards. The fourth down play was obviously huge for him, but he's still going to get massive amounts of targets. 10 targets last week, 11 in week 1. Number one receiver, one of the best receivers in football. You get him at a very fair price tag at 73. Hard for me not to have him this week against the Colts. So those are my 2 favorite receivers if I'm paying up. And then if you're going cheaper here, I like Keenan Allen. He's always just a target monster from Phillip Rivers. 15 targets last week, 10 targets a week before. I think he's very safe in a matchup he's safe with a lot of upside in a matchup against the Texans. And then if you do want to go with some bucks, don't mind it. Chris Godwin is more expensive than Mike Evans, which that hasn't happened, I don't think, ever. I'll probably go with Evans in tournaments, go with Godwin in cash, just because Godwin's looked much better than Evans throughout first 2 weeks. But Evans at potentially lower ownership still has that monster upside. I think he's going to break out sooner than later. And then I love Kenny Golladay here. Just pair him with Matt Stafford. He's gotten 10 targets and 9 targets. The targets are definitely there. He's the number one receiver on the team by far. In week 1, he played 98% of the snaps. Assuming he played a similar number last week against the Chargers. The matchup is so much easier here against the Eagles defense. The secondary is absolute trash. Besides like Malcolm Jenkins, he's probably going to be matched up against maybe Darby, who got lit up, or maybe he's probably going to get matched up against Rasul Douglas. But either way, it's a good matchup for Kenny Golladay. He's just a really good receiver, a big body in the red zone. They'd like to look his way. And if I'm playing Matt Stafford, makes sense to pair him with his top receiver in Kenny Golladay. And then a cheap wide receiver here that you can go with at your flex or even as your third wide receiver. If you're looking at like 5,000 and below, you got Hardman here at 5,000. Don't mind him. Kirk, he's looked good his first 2 weeks just because the Cardinals have gone to a pass-heavy offense, and Kyler Murray's looked very good. And if you're going even cheaper, I like Emmanuel Sanders a bunch. He's getting a ton of targets, 13 targets, 7 targets. Just missed a 100-yard bonus last week. Phillip Rivers just threw to him almost every single time he could. Looked his way every single time, basically, and I don't see that changing a lot here against the Packers defense. And if you like Curtis Samuel, you can go with him, although still kind of concerned with Cam Newton. DK Metcalf's cheap at 47. So those are some of my guys I like at cheap that are some cheap receivers that you can go with. But I think Emmanuel Sanders is by far the guy that has the highest ceiling out of that group and has probably the highest floor, just being the number one guy. Metcalf is the second guy. So at 4,800 for Sanders, you're getting a bunch of targets. Like I said, you're getting a guy that has big speed, game-breaking upside at a very good price tag, so I'll go with him. So that's an early look at this for this week 3. I haven't talked about tight end, so I'll quickly mention tight end here. I'm not going to pay up for Travis Kelce. If that kills me this week, then I can live with it. Just when you get Kelce at 71, then you get guys like Ingram at 52, Kittle at 56, even Ertz at 57. They're so much cheaper than Kelce, and they still have big time upside. Andrews here, you gotta look his way. He's probably gonna be popular after 2 back-to-back 8-catch, 100-yard plus performances. But I think he's fine. If you want to go cheaper, then there's still more value that you can go with, like Greg Olsen at 3,700. He's been Cam Newton's most reliable target, 9 targets in each of the first 2 weeks. That's not really going to change in this one. And then T.J. Hawkinson, if you want to stack up the Lions here, he struggled last week. Just the Chargers really shut him down. This could be a nice bounce back spot for him. So that's where I kind of look at tight end. I'll have a more concrete analysis of the positions on my Friday video after we get some injury news, and also if the Eagles are missing their couple receivers, if Jackson and Jeffrey are out, then Aguilar is going to be a top play for value, but we got to see the status of Jeffrey here. So there is a concern that he could miss. It's not a major issue. So we'll see. We gotta wait till the injury news are final. But if Jeffrey misses, then that's gonna open up the door for Nelson Aguilar to get some touches. So like I said, Friday hopefully we'll have all that news. But as of now, this is what I like. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Drop a like if you enjoyed, and good luck today.